Last month, I made $29,542 by selling digital products to old people. And last year, I was in fucking debt. I was a broke guy. I didn't have any money. I was overdrafted in my bank account. I was not supposed to make it out. I was supposed to stay broke. But I did it using the dates method that I'm going to talk about. It's called the SAP method. And I'm going to show you how you can implement it in your own situation. Now, what does the SAP method stand for? It stands for Suffer as Much as Possible method. Now, in my last two videos, I've talked about my story. So, on the left picture, you can see that I was in fucking debt on my bank account and didn't have any money. I had less money, like less than zero. I was in minus. And then I went to selling digital products and making over 30K a month at 19 years old. I finished high school a few days ago. Now, how did I achieve this? Well, I'm gonna show you how I did it in my own story. Now, back in July or June last year, I understood that I was broke, I didn't have any money, and I understood that I'm not gonna get out of this situation unless I impose a big risk, a big suffering, a big pressure upon myself. Because when you're in a bad situation, you usually get complacent. Now, it sounds kind of weird, but like, I'm gonna use this analogy. If I laid out a big pile of red fucking hot stones and I told you to lay on it, you would lay on it for like a millisecond and you would jump back up because you couldn't stand the heat, you couldn't stand the pain. Now, how you can implement that in your own life is like you're probably a broke guy, you probably didn't achieve much that I want in your own fucking life, but you're still not doing anything because that heat, that pain is not big enough. How you can achieve what I've done and what many people in this industry have done, you need to impose a bigger pressure upon yourself. You need to experience bigger pain in order to push yourself to get through out of this situation. Now, back in June and July, I understood this. I understood this concept. I heard it somewhere. And what I did was I implemented a very strict schedule of me going every day at 6 a.m. I would wake up, sleep deprived probably, wake up, get on my bike or walk to a co-working space in my city in Bosnia, and I will work there with my two friends from high school for 10 to 12 hours a day. Then when I finished, I would go to the gym again with the bike or alone on my fucking feet. I would walk there, finish the gym workout 1 to 2 hours. I would go home, eat, and then sleep. I didn't have anything else to do in my fucking life. That period of time of like a few months, and we didn't take much, but that just shows you how little time it takes to actually make it out. So how I did it, I was every day going there working. I was trying to start up a cybersecurity company actually, but when I realized that it's not gonna bring any money anytime soon, I need to get something quick. In that case, I found a mentor from my city that taught me how to sell digital products. Now, during these 10 to 12 hour workdays, I was just trying to piece things together. Like, why is this not working? Why is my company not making any money? Where am I making mistakes? And I was getting super drained out. Like, during that day, I was getting super energy drained. I was tired. I was sleep deprived. And usually we would like take these fucking naps inside of the co-working space because I was like sleeping 5 to 6 hours a night because I didn't have much time to sleep because of this fucking work schedule. And we would usually eat once during that period if we had money that day. I have a picture that I showed on my first video where I was like taking pasta from my home, from my mom's like basement closet. And I was making this pasta bowls without any fucking seasoning except salt, no meat, no nothing. And I would be eating that just to like fill up my stomach so I don't feel like pain so I can work. And that's basically how I did. It was a big fucking strict ass schedule discipline shit. And I have never experienced something that in my life because that was a big pressure on me. And like, I even had periods where I would like go to the mosque, pray, and I would cry. It was a bad situation nonetheless. But I'm glad it happened because it imposed a big risk upon myself. Because if I didn't make it at that point, like, what, I'm gonna go home and like ask for money from my mom or my uncle? Like, that's just seems kind of off as an 18-year-old back in that year. So basically, I was experiencing crippling stress. I was trying to make it out, and I did it. And it took me 3 months to start making money. Now, that wasn't a long period of time, but like with that schedule, it feels a lot longer. So the first step is commit suicide. Now, of course, I'm not talking about like shooting yourself in the head or something. I'm talking about psychological suicide. Now, how do you do that? In order to reinvent yourself, which most of you motherfuckers need in your life, you're probably broke, didn't achieve anything, which is the reality. I was there. And you need to commit this psychological suicide where you actually destroy your old self and you reinvent as a new, let's say your name is Joe, become a new Joe. Now, how do you do it? You take out a piece of paper or you bring out your notes app and you write all of the inputs that you have in your day-to-day life. So let's say it's a usual Tuesday. You write out, what do you do in the morning? Okay, I wake up at like 9 with an alarm. I wake up at 9, I scroll social media, respond to DMs, then I play some music, then I go down straight stairs, I eat some shit breakfast, I talk to this guy, I talk to that guy, I go to the school, I eat this shit. Like all of the inputs, everything that you're consuming in your life, you have to write it down. Now it's gonna be a big list. After writing it down, you're gonna go point by point, and you're gonna see, is that contributing to my success or not? So let's say if you wake up in the morning and you listen to shit music, is that contributing to your success? Probably not. Because you're listening to some fucking rap music that's gonna program your mind to actually be violent and shit. That's terrible. Like in the morning, I'm not going into that tangent, but like that's a bad input. And then you eat some shit breakfast full of fucking sugar, or you eat some cereal or like carbs in the morning. That's gonna give you brain fog. So that's a bad input. You're gonna cut all of those bad inputs off. Now, I understand if your bad input is like talking to your mom that like gives you bad advice about business and life, of course you can't like cut her off. But like you can isolate your mind those periods when you're like talking to these retards in your life where they say some bad and stupid shit like out in this year, out through that year. Like so just forget about it. Go through it. So after you write down all these inputs, you write down how you're gonna eliminate them. So let's say you wake up late. Okay, how do you eliminate that? You go to bed early. And that's how you're gonna do it. After you finish all the inputs and outputs, you're gonna write out what you think a daily routine of your ideal self would look like. So let's say your name is Joe. You're a broke guy, probably sleeping in late, going to school, not doing anything significant with your life. And what does the ideal version of Joe look like? So he probably wakes up early or wakes up late, but works up too late at night. Then he gets up, go get sunlight, goes to the gym, does a hard part of his work in the morning, does all of these productive things, and write down his daily routine. What would that look like? After you do that, you need to understand that you're gonna have to take all of these inputs that you think the ideal you is having, and you need to implement in your life. Well, most people think that discipline and like succeeding in business is actually just implementing more stuff in your life. Is actually the opposite. You probably heard this theory somewhere, but like if you want to succeed in life, it's probably due to taking things out of your life or at least replacing them. But it's definitely not just addition in your life. So like forget about these morning routines like Ashton Hall and shit. That's not the reality. You're gonna remove things from your life and you're gonna replace them with something better. That's how you remove bad habits. So after writing the routine, writing your own inputs and the routine, you can't go into implementing it directly and immediately because it's not possible. It's like going to the gym as a skinny guy and thinking you can bench 120 kilos on bench. That's just not possible. You gotta go linearly. So you're gonna bench 20 kilos, bench the bar, then add some weights, and gonna slowly progress to the 120 kilos. If you go directly to the 120 kilos, you're gonna get injured and you're gonna get discouraged from ever going to the gym again. We don't want to happen. We don't want that to happen. So after that, you're gonna have to eliminate your limiting beliefs. Now, what is a limiting belief? So let's say you're an average Joe and you think that it's not possible to make money in the modern day. You think you're not smart enough to make money. You have all of these beliefs about yourself that are limiting your potential results. That's what limiting beliefs are. So how do you destroy them? First of all, you write them down on the paper or in the notes app, and let's go one by one. So let's say one of your limiting beliefs is that you think you're not smart enough to make money and to succeed in life. Okay, so how do you destroy that? Of course, there's probably a big reason behind it. Like maybe in childhood, people were like telling you're dumb, which happened to me. But just that's a different tangent. But there's always these big origin stories of your limiting beliefs. They didn't come out of nowhere. They're usually tied into childhood trauma and like programming from the society. So how do you actually destroy the limiting beliefs? You're gonna write them out on the paper and you go one by one. So let's say first limiting beliefs, you think you're dumb to make money. Okay, so you look around yourself, you go on social media, you see these retards, these fucking idiots, like 50 IQ people having millions of dollars. Now, I love Togi, he's a great guy, I love him, I love his content, but that guy is not smart. He also says it himself. He's not that smart of a guy. Like when you compare it to probably some other people that you probably know in your life that are way smarter, but they didn't achieve shit. How did he achieve shit? Well, he did the things. He wasn't thinking about it. He wasn't overthinking. He was just going every day, putting in the inputs, working on the correct stuff, and getting rich. That's how you need to do it. You need to stop overthinking. You're not dumb enough. You're not a dumb guy that's not possible to make money because there are hundreds of people every day in your life. When you go down the streets, you see that guy with a good car. He's probably dumb as fuck, but he got it because it's possible. It's not due to your intellect. You're just limiting your own self. Your own mind is trying to limit yourself to not succeed in life because in order to succeed, there's a big period of life where you're going to experience pain and your mind does not want that. I talked about it in my last video. So that's the first limiting belief killed. Let's say the second limiting belief is that it's not possible to make money in the modern day. That's also a pretty easy one. But you go online, you see that this guy is making money with ChatGPT, selling fucking ebooks. This guy's doing YouTube, making videos like AI fucking brain rot videos, and he's making money off of it. This guy's going on TikTok doing this shit. This guy's mowing the lawn. This guy's like cleaning cars. There's so much potential in the world. There's so much money. You go down the street to see the big skyscraper. Somebody had to invest fucking money into that. It's all possible. Nothing is impossible. If you see someone making money like myself, I'm not a genius guy. I just picked the right niche. I picked the right business. I picked the right people to surround myself with. And that's why I got rich. I mean, I'm not rich, but like I got money. I'm well off for now. Like I have financial freedom. I can go to most places. I can pay everything that I need in my life. I can pay everything that my mother, my family needs. I'm well off. And probably most of you want that in your life. And it's not due to your intellect, it's not due to your capabilities, it's all in your fucking mind. Now, the fourth step to committing psychological suicide is actually becoming responsible. Now, when you look at all of these low status broke guys, they're usually not taking any responsibility in your life. Like they're going through life, not taking any responsibility, having all of these mistakes happening, being so sloppy, not doing anything to correct them, not learning from anything, from any mistake they made. And that's a really fast fucking lane to get as broke as possible and die as a motherfucker that didn't do anything in their life, as a guy that didn't take any responsibility. So why do you take responsibility? You take responsibility in order to learn. If you don't take responsibility, you're never going to learn. And in business, you have to constantly be evolving. In your life, you constantly have to be evolving. Because if you're not evolving, you're stagnating. You're going down. You're going to go down. You have a period, you're like stagnating, being right here, and you're going to start going down because you're not evolving. You're not learning. That's a big mistake people make in their lives. So let's say a situation happens. I'm gonna explain to you why responsibility is important. Let's say you're going on a highway. You're in your car, you're driving, and then you slid off. Your car starts to like turn, you make a big crash, big fucking crash, but you're well off, you didn't get injured. You go outside, you don't take any responsibility. When someone asks you what happened, you're gonna say, oh, this fucking truck came in and the dirt fell off the truck, and that's why I slid off into a fucking barrier. That's not taking any responsibility. And each time you go on the highway or on the streets, and each time you make a mistake, you're never gonna learn from it. And that's eventually gonna happen until you fucking die. And that's what happens in life. If you don't learn, you're gonna die. Like you're gonna make a big mistake once that God has put onto you to teach you a lesson, but you didn't take any responsibility. All of the other mistakes you made prior to that moment, you're gonna fucking die. Like people die in car crashes every day, and it's usually due to them not making any responsibility, not learning from their mistakes, not becoming a better driver, etc. So let's say there's another situation where you're a responsible driver. You're driving, the same situation happens. You get on some dirt, some rain, some mud and shit. You slid off into a barrier. You're well off, but you go outside and you think about it. So why did that happen? Okay, so this truck came in, the dirt fell, there was some rain. Okay, my car was slippery, my tires were fucking bald. And how do you take responsibility? You go stage by stage. So, what should I have done? I should have noticed that truck coming in. I should have predicted that there's gonna be dirt on the road. I should have predicted that the rain coming down is gonna make the road slippery. It's gonna my tires were bald. My mechanic a few months back told me to change my tires and I didn't. That's how you fucking learn. And each time you go on the highway, next time you go on the highway, you're gonna remember that and you're not gonna make that mistake again. So that's basically how responsibility works. Now, the fifth step to committing psychological suicide is going extreme. Now, in order to make big changes in your life, you need to impose big extremes in your life. So, let's say you're a broke guy that's been living the same for fucking years. In order to change, you can't just do a little bit of work and expect extraordinary results because that's not how shit works in life. You need to become a big extreme. So, let's imagine you have a slingshot. In my head, I have a slingshot and I pull it back. I pull it back bit by bit. And these are all the inputs you do. You start waking up early, get disciplined, you eat cleaner, you go to the gym, you start working on your business, you get the correct people in your environment, you start doing the good shit. And eventually, when you pull the slingshot back long enough, it's gonna fire out this ball like extraordinarily fast and on these big distances. That's how results happen in your life. You have these big periods where you're doing work, you're not seeing any results, you're doing work, being disciplined, and eventually it gets exponential. That's how I felt last year. I was like trying to start up this company for 2 to 3 years and nothing was happening. I was making some money, like it wasn't anything big, like it was a few $100. And then at this certain point, when I was in the most pain, most stress, that's when the exponential results happened. And that's when I started making thousands of dollars a month that seemingly out of nowhere, but it wasn't out of nowhere because I was putting in these inputs for years on end. That's how you need to imagine it. But if you're a guy that pulls a slingshot back this much and you do a few inputs, you do some good habits, but then you go back to your old habits. You start waking up late, you start watching fucking porn and shit, you start not going to the gym, you start eating junk food. That's when you go back. And you're gonna repeat this process because you're a dumbass. You're gonna repeat this process until you fucking learn that that's not how it works. You need to go into extreme period of your life when you pull back the slingshot long enough that when you get extraordinary and exponential results, people are gonna say it's overnight success. So that's how you commit psychological suicide. Next step that you need to do is having a strict schedule. That's how I did. I have on my computer in my Google Calendar, so this is where I sleep like 6, 7 hours of sleep, get up, pray, do some deep work, eat, gym, make videos, etc. You need to make a really strict schedule for yourself. Now, I know that if you're in this period of life where you didn't have any routine, any organization, it's gonna be really hard. And I talked about the gym analogy. So you need to go at it bit by bit. So let's say you have struggling to wake up early. Okay, let's solve that problem first. So you're gonna go to bed early and you're gonna wake up early. How do you do that? Let's say you're fucking a guy that goes to sleep at 3 a.m. and needs to get up at 6. You're gonna take some melatonin, maybe cut down on the food by the time you're going to sleep, maybe cut down on the screens you're intaking every night. There's hundreds of possible solutions to waking up early and going to bed early. So that's how you solve that. You go bit by bit. Then when you wake up early, you see that you have a problem of getting up out of bed. And then let's say you have a problem with being fucking hungry in the morning because you're so used to eating this sugary and carb packed breakfast every morning. So you're gonna go bit by bit, you're gonna solve these problems bit by bit, and eventually you're gonna have this big routine that's really organized and really strict, which is gonna keep you on a long period of time working on the correct inputs and eventually getting those exponential outputs. Now, when you get into this routine, you need to make sure that your mind does not trick you into thinking that you're not consistent on doing well enough. Now, at first, of course, you can't expect of yourself that you're gonna follow this routine 100% of the time. Like, every day you're gonna have some things coming up. Like, let's say your friend calls, you have an emergency, and you were in your deep work period, and your friend calls, you have an emergency, you have to go out. Now you have all of these things that are gonna happen in your life, and like your routine is probably gonna get fucked up most of the time. But if you just stick to it every day, like at least 50, 60% of the time, you're gonna see an increase. You just gotta go slowly. Just think about everything in life as in gym. Let's say you're gonna imagine yourself as a weak guy. So how do you start in gym? You need to start with the lowest weights. You're gonna start slowly. You gotta get the form right. You gotta talk to right people. They're gonna give you advice. That's how you progress. That's how you're gonna do this. So strict schedule. Third step, environment. How do you do this? You gotta surround yourself with the right people. If not physically, then digitally. If in the physical world you surround yourself by these retards, like in school, in fucking like work, you surround yourself by these idiots that all they talk about shit, you're not gonna progress. You're gonna take all of these inputs from them, you're gonna ingrain them in your own mind, and eventually you're gonna probably quit, like most people. So how do you avoid this? You need to at least, like you have a few options, but you're either gonna cut off all the bad people from your life, which is kind of scary and kind of hard for most people. I haven't done that personally because I was never surrounding myself with fucking idiots. Second step, you can either keep the retards in your life because it's hard to cut them off, especially if they're family, but you're gonna isolate your mind. So that's what I talked about earlier in this video. You're gonna listen to all their bullshit, and from other ear, it's gonna go out. You're not gonna remember any of it. You're just there going through the motions. Especially if you're at work, something you can't escape. That's the best way to do it. And then in digital world, you gotta surround yourself by the people you wanna become. Now I talked about this. There's a very simple formula in life. If you want to get the results that every other person in this world has, you're going to do the steps they are taking. So let's say you're going down the street and I tell you, oh, take a look at that neighbor. Would you want to swap lives with them in an instant? And if you don't say yes, that person is probably doing some dumb shit that you never want to experience in your life. Then why are you taking the steps that everybody else is taking? Like, let's say you're in school and you see all these retards going to grades and shit, and they're going into colleges getting shit jobs, but you're taking that journey as well, even though you know it's not correct. So why are you doing it? It's subconscious programming from the society that it's the correct way, but it's not, unless you want it. And you probably don't if you're watching this video. So you gotta do the opposite of what the average guy in the world is doing. And you need to go into the digital world. You need to take a look at these people living the lives that you want. You need to do the shit that they are doing. You need to surround yourself by their ideas, by their inputs, by their things that they are saying out. You need to consume their content, not the content of these retards in your life. That's how you do it. So that's the environment part. Fourth part, there's a really, really important morning habit that you need to implement. It's called eating the fucking frog. Now, Hamza has talked about this very much in his videos, and I stole it from him, obviously. But the concept is this. So let's say I have this frog, which is a frog, it's disgusting, and I tell you, if you don't eat this today or every day of the week, your family's gonna die. And I give you an option. You can eat it before breakfast or after dinner. And if you choose before breakfast or before this delicious food, that means you're delaying gratification in order to get better results at the end. But if you choose to eat the frog later, you're just gonna have this fucking anxiety all the time you're eating this delicious food that at the end there's this disgusting frog waiting for me. And that's the thing I want to implement in your morning routine. So when you wake up, you need to do the hardest thing possible on your mind first. So let's say you don't have a business yet, but you go to the gym and you hate going to the gym, but you're going because you're this disciplined guy. If that's the first thing that comes up on your mind when I tell you that you need to do the hardest things first, that's the exact thing you need to do in the morning. Now, for me, it's scripting videos and doing the marketing for my products. That's the thing I hate the most. But that's what I do as soon as I wake up. Now, I hate going to the gym too, but I do it later in the day because it's not that hard to go to the gym when compared to these things in my business that I really, really hate to do. Fifth step, you need to put pressure upon yourself. Now, how do you put pressure upon yourself? Very easy. You're either gonna take big risks. So let's say I have a guy that I know in my life, in my country, that basically put himself into voluntary debt in order to get this big pressure on him of these guys probably coming in to kill him if he doesn't make the money back. He put himself into this big pressure and he got the debt back, paid back because he made his business work. But that's just a simple example of how you make pressure. So you can take big risks. So let's say you quit school, quit work in order to make your business work, or you can take or give big promises to people that are close to you and personal people that you know. So let's say you go to your brother and tell him, hey bro, if I don't buy you a new iPhone 16 Pro by next week or next month, next year, you can like give me a big fucking slap because I'm more and I'm an idiot that didn't keep his promise. So another way to build pressure, if you're a guy that's well off in his life, let's say you have a good parents, good parenthood, they give you a lot of money, you're in school, and you're pretty complacent because even if you make your business work or you don't make your business work, you're in the same situation because you have money. You're not gonna go broke, you're not gonna be homeless, you're not gonna starve to death because you have money coming in. So how do you get rid of this complacency that's eventually gonna kill you in the business sense, which happened to me? But I'm not gonna get into that in this video. But basically, if you have a lot of money right now coming in and you're not into any risk in your life, then your mind is gonna really easily trick you into stopping doing the work that you're supposed to do because even if you fail or even if you win, you're gonna stay in the same position. You already have money. You're not gonna die. Your brain is gonna be okay because there isn't any risk of you failing the business. But when you have risk, your mind is gonna be into this like fight or flight mode where it's gonna try really hard to make the business work in order to survive. So that's how pressure works. Now, the fifth fucking step is how to not get into this retard autistic mode that I see a lot of people coming in when they go through these periods of extreme work and extreme discipline. They go into this weird fucking phase where they're socially disabled and can't talk to people and are not capable of socializing with people. That's terrible. That you shouldn't strive to get into that position in your life. That's terrible. So how do you do that? You're gonna have this period of your life where you're working, you're really disciplined, you don't have much time to see your friends, but you're lonely. Like you're gonna be fucking lonely. It's gonna be hard. But you can't lose the part of every human, which is socializing and communication. So even if you have a little bit of time to see your friends, go see your friends. Like 30 minutes, an hour. Talk to some people. If you go to the gym, talk to some people, like meet your new people. Don't become this socially autistic person that is not capable of speaking to another man or meeting someone. That's terrible. If that happens while you're rich, you're just gonna get into bigger depression and you're gonna feel even worse because now you have money, but nobody's paying attention to you because you can't speak to people because you're a retard. So don't go into this phase. Like, just try to avoid it completely. Listen to my advice. So the solutions are communicate with people, like at least try to see your friends like once a day, like once a week, once every 2 days for 30 minutes, talk to them on the phone, go into the gym, meet new people. That's how you stay socially capable and smart. Next step is have God by your side. Like now, I talked about this in my last two videos, but you need to have God in your side. You're gonna go through these hard periods, and if you don't believe in God, your mind is probably gonna trick you into escaping that period by either cutting down the discipline, going to bad habits and shit. But when you have God in your side, it's gonna be really easy to push through these hard periods because in the Bible, in the Quran, everywhere God basically says that it's not gonna put big adversity or problems upon you if you're not supposed or capable to handle it. So every problem that you encounter in your life, it's not gonna kill you because God put it on you because He knows that you're gonna be able to solve it. He knows you're capable. That's how it works. Okay, so that's basically everything that I wanted to cover in this video. I hope all of you guys enjoyed it. And as the last fucking step, I want you to follow me on Instagram. There I show my life, I show my pictures, I have some pretty interesting stuff. I went to Croatia this time with my boy Smitrees. I did some cool shit, you can follow me there. Maybe we can connect and maybe I can give you some advice on business. Thank you very much all of you for listening and watching this, and I hope I see you next time.